Hello and welcome to Planet 40k. In today's video we're going to be reviewing the Ravenwing Talonmaster from the Dark Angel supplement, and we're going to be asking the question, is this the best HQ in 40k? So before we do, guys, if you haven't already, do me a huge favour and subscribe below. So today's shout out is going to go to CertRPix, I think I've said that correctly, for this comment here, and they've simply just said thank you for the consistent content, so shout out to you. So on to the Ravenwing Talonmaster. It's one of the HQ options in the Dark Angel supplement. So it's coming in at 175 points, that's with the new chapter approved, so it was previously 160, so it has gone up 15 points, or 8 power level. So it's going to come with the following keywords. It's a character, which is quite good, especially because it's a vehicle. It's a lieutenant, it's got the Ravenwing keyword, it's a Talonmaster, inner circle, a vehicle, a land speeder, and it's got the fly ability. So plenty to work with there. As for the stat line, movement up 18 inches, which is ridiculous. Weapon skill 2+, ballistic skill 2+, strength 4, toughness 6, wounds 8, attacks 3, leadership 8, and a 3+ save. So that movement is kind of crazy, 18 inches, you don't normally see that. So this is effectively a flying lieutenant who's going to be able to keep up with all your Ravenwing models. As for the abilities, Angels of Death, so it's going to have the 4 abilities included in that. It's then got Grim Resolve, which is a Dark Angel chap's tactic, so if you're going to remain stationary, you're going to add 1 to your attacks hit rolls. Now he already hits on 2, so unless there's a negative modifier, this one isn't really going to be needed. Then combat attrition tests are going to be automatically passed, which that one isn't a big deal. It's got the inner circle ability, although it isn't an infantry model, so it's not going to have the transhuman physiology, but it will be able to fall back as normal as it's a vehicle. It's got the Jink ability, so it's going to have a 5+ in-run save if you move, and if you advance it's going to go up to a 4+ in-run save, but if you remain stationary you do lose your in-run save. It's going to use the Super Doctrine Sons of the Lion, which is going to add 3 inches to the movement, which is already 18 inches, so it's going to be 21 inches, which will be in the Devastator Doctrine, so in turn 1. Then not only that, units in that doctrine are eligible to shoot in the turn in which they advanced. So 21 inches, plus anything up to 6 inches on top of that, but you are shooting at a -1 to hit if you do that. It's got Tactical Precision, which is the Lieutenant's ability, which is an aura. For Dark Angel's core units within 6 inches, they're going to reroll 1s to wound. Then it's got Company Heroes. So if the army is battle forged, then for each lieutenant included in a detachment, a second lieutenant can be included in the same detachment without taking up an additional battlefield role slot. So if you're wanting more lieutenants, it's going to come without having to take up any slots, not too bad. As it's a vehicle, it's going to explode if it gets destroyed on a 6, and any unit within 3 inches will suffer 1 mortal wound, so not a huge explosion, but it is only a land speeder after all. It's got another aura, which is No Escape. So done in your command phase, you select 1 enemy unit visible to the model until the start of the next command phase, while a friendly Dark Angel Ravenwing core unit is within 6 inches of this model. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack, that particular enemy unit does not receive the benefits of cover to its saving throws against the attacks. So the actual enemy that you do select could be anywhere on the board, there's no actual range on that one, but the aura is for 6 inches for your own units. So let's move on to the Wargear. So a Ravenwing Talonmaster is equipped with a twin assault cannon, a twin heavy bolter, and a power sword. So there is some combat capabilities coming from this vehicle. So the twin assault cannon, 24-inch range, heavy 12, strength 6, -1 AP and 1 damage. So with those 12 shots, you're likely getting about 10 hits on average because you're hitting on 2s. Going against toughness 3, you're going to do 8.3 wounds on average. That's before any saves are taken. Against toughness 4 and toughness 5, it's about 6.7. And toughness 6 is about 5 on average. Anything toughness 7 or more is about 3.3. So not too bad of a weapon there. And bear in mind, in the Devastator Doctrine, which is turn 1, this AP is going to go to -2 AP for that battle round. The twin heavy bolter, which is 36-inch range, heavy 6, strength 5, -1 AP and 2 damage. And this will also go up to -2 AP in the first turn, which is the Devastator Doctrine. This one's 6 shots, so you should average 5 hits. Now against toughness 3 and 4, it'll be 3.3 wounds on average. Toughness 5 will be 2.5 wounds. Toughness 6 or more, 1.7. So not as good as the other weapon, but it's not as many shots. You're only getting 6 shots. It's still doing a little bit of damage though. Then the power sword, which is a +1 strength, making it strength 5, -3 AP and 1 damage. So with 3 attacks base and then 1 for shock assault, you should average 3.3 hits. This time going against toughness 3 and 4, you'll average 2.2 wounds. Going against toughness 5, 1.7 wounds. And going against toughness 6 or more, it'll be 1.1 wounds. And this one will go to a -4 AP in the assault doctrines. So that's all the Wargear dealt with. Let's look at some stratagems that work well with this land speeder. So you've got skilled riders, it's 1 command point, used on a land speeder that has advanced in the movement phase and is selected for a range attack. So it's going to be a -1 to hit if your opponent targets it. not too bad. Hit and run warfare, which is 1 command point as well, also used on a land speeder, which allows him to fall back and then still be eligible to shoot even though he did fall back, which normally you can't fall back and shoot, but with all those weapons, that's not a bad option at all. Only in death does duty end, which is 2 command points, used on a character unit. If your model dies in melee and has not yet been selected to fight in that phase, don't remove him from play just yet. He gets to attack with 4 attacks before you remove him. Probably a little bit too expensive, 2 command points just for a power sword, but it can be an option if you want to take down a last wound or 2 on another character maybe. Armour of Contempt, which is 1 command point used on a vehicle model. When you lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound, on a roll of a 5+, that wound is not lost. So a 5+ feel no pain save against mortal wounds. Handy against all those psychic powers and smites and death guard abilities and whatnot. Especially if this is quite an aggressive unit going forward, it's likely going to be the closest to those smite attacks. Hero of the chapter if you want to add a warlord trait to the army. So only for 1 command point you can be adding traits. Likewise with the relic of the chapter, if you want to add a relic to the army, for 1 command point you can do so as well. Swift Strike, which is a Dark Angel supplement stratagem, it's going to cost you 2 command points. In the fight phase, after the Ravenwing unit has fought, if it's still within engagement range of the enemy, it can fall back as if it was the movement phase, and if it's not in engagement range, it could just move as normal. So you're getting the 18-inch range coming out of combat if you don't want to be in combat. 2 command points isn't that bad, especially if you're going to save a character model. Next we've got Full Throttle, which is 1 command point used in the movement phase. When the unit advances, it can immediately make another normal move up to 12 inches. But then it's not eligible to shoot or declare a charge this turn. So you'd only really use this for things like line breaker or just getting onto an objective or getting out of dodge really. Or perhaps moving your aura ability somewhere else on the board, because you can't do anything after that. High Speed Focus for 1 command point. Used in your opponent's shooting phase. When you're allocating a ranged attack against this vehicle, until the start of the next turn, it's going to have a 4+ invulnerable save against those ranged attacks. Now you do already have a 5+ if you did move, and if you did advance you've already got the 4+, so you won't need it in that case, but if you want to increase it to a 4+, or if you just stayed stationary, and then you won't have any invuln save, so maybe you can use this. Targeting Guidance is 2 command points, using the shooting phase. Select an enemy unit within 18 inches and visible to a Ravenwing land speeder. Then until the end of the phase, each friendly Dark Angel's model that makes a ranged attack against that selected enemy unit will +1 to their attack's hit rolls. So pretty good. Paragon of the chapter. Again, it's a way to get a warlord trait in, but you can have 2 warlord traits on the 1 character. The Hunt, which is 2 command points, used at the start of the first battle round but before the first turn begins. You select a Ravenwing unit from your army. They can make a normal move as if it was your movement phase, so that's not an advanced move, it's a normal move, although it is 18 inches because your movement is huge, but they must end their move more than 9 inches away from enemy models. So use this if you've got first turn if you want to get up the board. So that's all the stratagems. Let's look at some unit synergy from the Dark Angel supplement. You've got the Grandmaster of the Ravenwing himself, Samael. And he's got the ability, in the command phase, you can select a Ravenwing core or Ravenwing character unit within 6 inches of the model until the start of the next command phase. Each time a model in the unit makes an attack, you can reroll the hit roll. So as you've got a lot of DACA coming from that twin assault cannon and twin heavy bolter, rerolling all the hits could be massive. They obviously synergize with the Ravenwing Black Knights, giving them reroll 1 to their room rolls, especially for those plasma talons. Then you can also bring a Ravenwing Dark Shroud, and in particular it's got the icon of the old Caliban, which is an aura. While friendly Dark Angel units are within 6 inches of the model, each time a ranged attack is made against the unit, subtract 1 from the attacker's hit rolls. So that one's pretty good, and it's synergizing with all your Ravenwing guys, not just the 1 lieutenant. Then of course it synergizes well with all the other Ravenwing models. You've got the Bikers, the Outriders, the ATV Invaders. Those ATV Invaders in particular, again have got a lot of DACA, especially with those Gatling cannons, so giving those rerolls of 1s to wound could be pretty crucial. Before we get into the summary, we're going to talk about some relics of the Rock. Now, usually vehicle models cannot take relics, but in this supplement there are a few relic options that can be taken with a Ravenwing Talonmaster. Starting us off with Eye of the Unseen. So the bearer gains the following ability. It's called Fear, it's an aura. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of the bearer, subtract 1 from the leadership characteristics of the model within the unit. Then at the start of the fight phase, if an enemy character unit is within engagement range of the bearer, the unit is not eligible to fight until all other eligible units of your army have already done so. Now, I probably won't go for this one, it's not that big of a deal, all those abilities. I mean, fighting first can be big, but there are better options as you'll see in a moment. So if you jumped into the special issue Wargear page, so one of them is Heavenfall Blade. So it swaps out your power sword and it gives it the following. So it's a melee weapon, it's strength +2 this time, not strength +1. So that puts it on strength 6, it's -4 AP and it's 2 damage, and you're making 1 additional attack with the weapon. So now you've got 5 attacks, and they're 2 damage a pop, which makes it pretty good, especially against power armor. But the one everybody's looking at is the Arbiter's Gaze. Now this one's pretty big, so each time the bearer makes an attack, a hit roll of a 2+ is always successful even when firing Overwatch, irrespective of any modifiers or any abilities the target may have. Then not only that, each time the bearer makes an attack, the target does not receive any benefits of cover. So with all those attacks from those ranged weapons, especially in Overwatch, hitting on 2s, you're very rarely going to get charged, which is a massive off-put. For those factions in particular that want to charge your guys, that's probably the relic I would select. Not only that, but if you're in engagement range, you're normally a -1 to hit with heavy weapons when shooting into engagement range, but again, there's not going to be no modifiers, so you're always hitting on 2s. So if you did want to give him a Warlord trait, from the standard options you've got the Calibanite Knight, which is each time a Warlord makes a melee attack against an infantry or a biker, unmodified wound rolls of a 2+ are always successful. So that makes that power sword virtually a strength 8 against toughness 4 models, and even toughness 5 models it makes it a strength 10 effectively, which is not too bad. Then if you're looking at the Ravenwing Warlord traits specifically, there's only 2 there, which is lightning fast reactions, which is a -1 to hit if he's targeted, or Masters of the Maneuver, which I prefer this one. The Warlord is eligible to shoot or charge in a turn in which it fell back. Now with that relic in particular, it's not likely to have been charged, but if it does, you can fall back, shoot, charge, get back into combat, fight first. And because of that 18-inch speed, you can use that to your advantage and get into combat with something like a big tank, maybe even one with the blast ability. That way it's not shooting at anything else in your army, and it has no option but to fall back. And even if it doesn't, you're just going to fall back and then shoot and recharge anyway. So let's move on to the summary, the good. I mean, there's quite a lot of good here. It's reasonably priced. I mean, yes, 160 points is a lot, but the captains are about 100 anyway. And if you're looking at how much extra you get for the model, it's not bad going, especially for Ravenwing. It's quick at 18 inches and it's got a fly as well, that you're just jumping straight over screens with fly. You can also get yourself high up in terrain and whatnot so that you can't be targeted by a charge. The stats are actually fantastic in general. Toughness 6, wounds 8, hitting on 2s, all pretty good. I mean 8 wounds as well with the Lookout Sir ability because it's a character. That's major here because it's quite rare that you have a vehicle that's also a character, so you can easily screen it with some biker units. Anything that's Ravenwing can easily screen this. It's got that Jink ability, so even though it doesn't have an inbuilt invuln, that Jink ability does give it an invuln as soon as it moves, and if you're advanced, even better. It's got plenty of range attacks. 12 shots from the twin assault cannon, 6 shots from the twin heavy bolter. What's not to like about that? It's got the lieutenant's tactical precision aura, which is always key here with lieutenants in particular, and it's got access to certain relics and special war gear, which is quite uncommon for vehicles. Then lastly, just good overall synergy with all of the Ravenwing models. As for some of the bad, as it's not an infantry, there's no transhuman physiology from the inner circle ability, because vehicle models don't get that. It is only toughness 6, that I know it is only a land speeder, that's not meant to be toughness 7 or more, it is just a light vehicle after all. But for 160 points you could argue that you want a bit more than that. And then you've got to remember, if you are in combat, it's going to be a -1 to hit with ranged attacks due to the fact that they're heavy weapons. Now unless of course you take that relic I mentioned, it's going to be a -1 to hit. So as for the rating, I think this is one of the best HQs in the game at present. I mean, it's got everything you possibly would want. It's quick, it's got a lot of range capabilities, it's not bad in combat, it can take relics even though it's a vehicle, lots of wounds, it's got an invuln save with Jink, Lookout Sir, and Dark Angels in general with Ravenwing are pretty powerful at the moment. So for the Planet 40k rating, I'm going to go with 5 out of 5. So guys, let me know what you would give this model. Also, if you think there's any other HQs in the game that are better than the Talonmaster, put it down below, let me know, let me check them out. Let me do a little comparison and whatnot. We'll get some dialogue going. So if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button below for regular 40k content. We're working our way through the Dark Angels reviews at present, and we're also doing the Space Marine reviews as well, so that will be relevant for your army as well if you're using just Space Marine stuff. Thank you all for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.